Welcome to episode 53 of The Leap Home. Shock Theatre.
In this week's episode, Sam has to find a way to leap despite suffering from side effects following electroshock therapy. With Al working to keep his friend grounded and complete his task, Sam explores some of his past personalities. But can he pull himself together in time to implement Al's plan? Or is his mind too far gone to be put back together?
Oh, great. I'm tuned into little kids, I'm tuned into dogs, and now I'm tuned into the mentally absent. Why not blondes?
Good evening, Ian. How are things?
Oh, I'm feeling a bit mentally absent myself. I'm surprised that Al distinguishes between blondes and the mentally absent.
I thought actually it was a description of our audience.
That they're mentally absent?
No, they're tuning into the mentally absent.
Oh, right, okay. That's probably a better thing to say.
Yeah.
Rather than just insult everybody straight off the bat. How are you feeling? Warm again?
Roasting. I was just saying there, I've got sweaty behind the knees. That's how warm it is when you're sitting down here. I put a bit of talc on.
Did you? Oh, kind of you.
No, it is very warm.
Apparently talc's a carcinogen. We've talked about this
We've
before.
had this discussion already. I don't care. Yeah.
I thought this was quite a dramatic season finale. It's one of those ones where it's like, if you were going to end the show, or if you didn't know if you were coming back.
Well, it was very fitting. I thought, yeah, I'd agree with you. It reminded me very much of Shutter Island.
Yeah.
And I thought that if you didn't know this, it did come back, how cool would it have been to find out that actually the entire time Sam was mentally ill in the hospital and all his leaps were just dreams or figments of his imagination?
Yeah, that's a good approach. You could have done that, yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't.
No, it was far too successful. Too much money to be made.
Keep going.
Season 4. We, however, will not begin straight into season 4, will we?
No, we hinted at this, or said it explicitly last week.
We discussed it, yeah, it wasn't a hint. It was more than that.
Well, for some folk it was a hint.
An announcement.
Yes, we're going to take a break at the end of the season, as we did at the end of season 2 and the end of season 1, but slightly longer this time because we're going to squeeze in a new 10-week run on the Columbo podcast.
Yeah, Poker Face. We would encourage everyone to subscribe and follow the Columbo podcast if you haven't already.
And if you have never listened to that one, you could catch up on it while you're waiting.
Yeah, why not?
It won't be that long a wait. We'll be into Poker Face in about a month's time, and then...
So I'm thinking we should be back with the Leap Home around about October, I think.
Well, time will tell. We never keep our promises on these things.
No, but I've factored that in.
Oh, you have? Okay. October, fantastic. That gives everybody who's fallen behind time to catch up, although by the time they listen to this one, they'll have caught up.
Yeah, well, just consider it like the TV show itself.
Yeah, take a hiatus.
Yeah, it's not a year.
We'll definitely be back.
Oh, for sure. We've never not completed a podcast.
That's true.
Anyway, why don't you remind the listeners of our current socials?
Of course. For the new Poker Face show, you'll want to be following at Columbo Podcast. But for this one, we're at Leap Home Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. We're at The Leap Home on Facebook. Show notes are on theleaphome.com. And if you go to our YouTube channel, apart from this week when the series has already ended, you'll find 1 week ahead of the podcast release each and every episode.
We should say as well that we would encourage people to continue to chat to us in these platforms.
Yeah, we'll keep monitoring the social accounts, of course. We continue to encourage reviews and comments and likes and subscribes and all those other things.
Indeed.
Shall we get a bit of a shock going?
Let's crackle on.
Oh. After the intro, I'm not sure if the tag was slightly different.
It was.
In fact, I'm certain it was different because they set the voltage differently and they said a few different things.
Yeah.
But it's the same basic idea. We see Sam leaping into a patient at a mental health facility of some kind, being abused by a member of staff.
Yeah, it's a dark and stormy night as well, so the atmosphere.
It remains dark and stormy throughout, although I think it takes place over more than one night.
Yeah. I assume this is the episode with the least amount of locations.
Well, it certainly seems to be. You get exteriors, but there's no indication that they're in any way connected to where they filmed the interior shots. No.
Sam is always inside, never leaves.
Well, then he had that when he was in Death Row as well.
Yeah, true.
A couple of weeks ago. He's given this electric shock therapy over the objections of a nurse.
Yes, Chatham, is that her name?
Chatham, yep.
She enters and reminds Butch, this is the orderly who is abusing Sam, that only a doctor can deliver this procedure. But he's angry and claims that the doctor, I think Masters, is that he told him to do it, which is good enough for him. He's lying. He's annoyed because Sam has apparently lashed out at him.
Yes, and he's wanting to teach him a lesson.
They put a bit into his mouth and deliver the current, which causes Sam to convulse in pain.
So why do they put the bit into his mouth?
To stop him biting her in his tongue.
So they're concerned about his tongue, but they don't care about causing him extreme pain with electric.
Yeah, because that would reveal what's happened.
Okay.
So if he bites his tongue, then Butch is in a lot of trouble. Or it might even be a case of perhaps you can swallow your tongue during it.
Okay.
It's like when if you're beating up a prisoner, you don't go for the face, do you?
Around the ribs.
Yeah, exactly.
We come back to the corridors of this facility.
After the credits, yeah.
Yes. And we hear one of the patients / inmates raving about butchers and bakers and candlestick makers, and I'll tell you who that is at the end of the episode.
Will you?
I will.
Okay. Sam has been wheeled in a gurney. He's unconscious and in the fetal position. And I think on the screen we're told the date at this point.
It's October the 3rd, 1954.
He is being pushed by a smiling and now whistling Butch, who is referred to as a butcher by the patient that you mentioned there. And I mean, this patient is clearly not well himself.
No. Butch himself announces to the others, or the other patients, that Mr. Biederman, which is Sam, obviously, is back and he's feeling much better before promising to make anyone else who takes a swing at him feel better as well. It's a not too coded warning.
No, it's definitely not. It's very blatant. Don't mess around, you'll get the same. At this point, another member of staff, I think his name's Freddie.
Yeah, I think he's a young doctor.
Is he? I wasn't sure if he's an orderly.
He's going to be qualifying as a doctor, so what job he's doing, I'm not 100% certain.
I made a note about that later on when it's referred to, but he remarks that Sam has been in recovery for 4 hours and assumes that Dr. Masters zapped Sam a good one.
Yes. Another patient asks if Sam has been killed, and Butch says, not today.
Yeah, this other patient, I think, is that Tibby.
Yes, he says that Butch tried to kill him, but when he pushes this, he's told by Freddie to go and play with his puzzle or he won't get ice cream tonight. It's kind of infantilizing him a wee bit.
Yeah, but if ice cream is something he loves and always refers to, I mean, that's... Anyway, by this point, Sam has been unloaded onto his bed.
Yeah, and Tibby's not ready to stop having a go at Butch. He asks if the reason he keeps hurting Sam is because he doesn't like him.
So how does the cruel Butch respond to this?
He kind of flips it around on Tibby and says the reason he hurts Sam is because he doesn't like Tibby. So if anything happens to him, it's Tibby's fault.
That's not good, is it?
It's horrible.
Yeah. But at this point, Tibby looks at Sam and states quite clearly that this is not Mr. Biederman, which causes Butch to joke that maybe he killed him earlier on and this is someone else.
Yeah, so obviously they're a bit used to people saying unusual things, so this doesn't stand out.
Yeah. I thought that, this whole environment was very conducive to, on one hand, these statements and these claims would be ignored because, you know what, that's what people say.
They're lunatics, doesn't matter.
But also, it's far more dangerous as well because it does do that. It does sort of prove or would indicate that you are mentally unstable or unwell
even if you think you're telling the truth.
Yeah. It's a dangerous place to be talking to invisible people, I would have thought.
I would say so.
If you have any aspirations to not be
leave.
there.
Yeah. Butch tells him to figure this out for himself and then let him know, but Tibby says he won't be telling Butch anything.
Yeah, and at this, Butch resorts to giving him a fright.
Yes, a bit of a jump scare.
So when he leaves, Tibby walks to Sam's bedside and tells him that the staff are trying to kill him. But this is disputed by the more compassionate nurse.
Nurse Chatham, yes. She and Freddie come over and Tibby is sent back to his spot, which seems to be his bed.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, Freddie has noticed something a little bit strange.
What's that?
He says it's odd the way that Mr. Biederman has changed since he came into the facility. He was down with a bit of depression when he first came in, and now he's a complete lunatic. Yeah,
Chatham, I think she tries to play this down, but Freddie posits that it'd be better if Sam just went home. So, I mean, I think they are addressing, and we can as well, some of the bigger issues here, that not everyone who's got any sort of mental unwellness needs to be locked up and treated with all these crazy
No.
procedures.
And, yeah, so Freddie's obviously a younger doctor who'll maybe be part of the next generation that realises that these treatments are barbaric.
Of course.
But it's not the way of things right now. And Nurse Chatham says to him that it's maybe just as well he's not yet a doctor because this is a classic depressive case and Sam needs to be here.
Yeah, I think she says she's been there for 10 years now. This is the point where I noted, if he's not yet a doctor, what's he doing just wandering around? I'm not sure.
Well, I presume it's some kind of placement.
Yeah, but I'm guessing that you would constantly be on the shoulder of a senior doctor. You wouldn't be wandering about yourself, would you, with a nurse? Or maybe...
Unless he's taking some kind of part-time job as an orderly.
Yeah.
While he's studying.
But it almost seems more like an apprentice. He's not a mechanic or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is when Al shows up and he does not have any concept of what's happened to Sam.
No, but he's initially amused that he's going to get to use his own name.
Yes, very, very briefly amused by this. Yes, he's Sam Biederman. He's being treated for acute depression.
But he does remark that he looks terrible, even worse than his counterpart in the waiting room.
Of course, his counterpart in the waiting room hasn't had the electric shock.
No, that's true. Lucky. Take that one for me, thanks.
Yeah. Nurse Chatham mops some drool from Sam's face and helps him wake up, at which point he doesn't recognise Freddie, which is concerning to them.
He's distressed, confused, but gets angry when he remembers the electric shock treatment,
Yeah,
even though Chatham accepts that this shouldn't have happened and it won't happen again.
This is when Al realises that something terrible's happened and promises to get Sam out of here.
Yeah, he says they're working full out as Sam pleads, he begs not to be left there. So Al saying, yeah, we're working full out. So normally they don't bother. It's
try that hard. Yeah.
a bit half-arsed. But this
Really,
time,
let Sam do the work normally.
and they then do their thing by having a three-way conversation. As Sam asks Al what he has to do to get out, and Chatham thinks that obviously he's talking to her.
Yeah.
So Al advises him to chill so that Chatham will leave and they can talk alone. But he forgets that the doctor's been sent for. Did we mention that?
Yeah, Dr. Masters is on his way.
And at the same time, Sam is having an episode, I would suggest, a bit of a panic attack.
Oh yeah, he doesn't know where he is, who he is, or what's going on.
Yeah, and he stretches his head through the bars of his headboard, and he has to be talked back to calmness by Nurse Chatham.
Sam, do you promise?
Okay.
Okay, come on back down.
You gotta promise.
All right, Sam.
No more
No more shock. No more shock.
Does he know who he is?
He seems to.
He's not Mr. Biederman.
You get him away from me. Get him out of here.
Stay back, boys.
Get him. Keep on.
You know what I'm saying? Huh?
No.
Do you recognize Nurse Chatham?
No. I don't know anyone. And I don't care what he says. I don't have to help anybody do anything. I don't.
Who the hell is he talking to?
I told you to stay back. Why don't you have to help Sam?
Sam, listen to me. These people can't see me. I am a hologram tuned to your mind. I'm here to help you.
They can't see you?
No,
Then how are you going to help me get out?
Do you know who you are, Sam?
you're Sam Biederman. You have a wife, no children, and you're here because you have an acute case of depression.
No.
Do you remember who you are, Sam?
No.
You're Sam
No, no, I'm not. I'm Sam Mantha Stormer. Samantha Stormer. And oh my, what a storm. I'm an executive secretary at the National Motor Company in Detroit, Michigan. You know that's silly.
So Sam, at this point, has adopted not only the identity of Samantha Stormer, but also her mannerisms.
Just to remind people, Samantha is from what place? Gloria.
Yes, she was as he says, the woman at the National Motor Company that the boss was keen on,
Buddy, yeah.
and she ended up giving him a right hook.
Now, you talked there about her mannerisms. I have an issue when I was younger, watching things like Big, Tom Hanks, I had a problem because I think what happens is when you're acting like that part, you overdo it. I don't think that the 12-year-old kid that Tom Hanks leapt into or became would actually act. He was acting younger. And I think here as well, he's acting like he's a guy been told to act like a woman.
Yeah, but that's because in this scenario, he hasn't become Samantha Stormer. His brain is telling him he's Samantha Stormer and is filling in gaps for him. So this is Sam's subconscious trying to show him. So it's the same. I've read people complaining that he talks about things that he wouldn't have known from the episode when he was that person. But what's happened, I presume, in the story is that his brain has a gap that is being filled by his subconscious, and it's making stuff up.
Yeah.
So it's almost improvised on a subconscious level. So things that how she speaks and stuff like that, it's not him remembering how she speaks, it's him figuring out how she speaks or putting it on based on the little information that he's been given.
Okay, that makes sense. Also sounds like the answers the producer would give when they're retrofitting. Fair enough.
Maybe.
Al is just as surprised as the others as Sam stands and starts to describe his leap from what Press Gloria, as we mentioned.
Yeah, he gives a bit more information and he thinks that he's here in this institution because he hit Buddy right.
Why would you think that?
Again, it's just, he doesn't know, so he's assuming, he's guessing.
Yeah, he's more likely to have been a normal prison.
Maybe he's not going through the list of all the things that he's done to. It's just the last thing that he remembers from being Samantha is hitting Buddy right, then he leaped.
Yeah. And as he lets this sink in, we see Al look at him in disbelief and despair as he says at this time they've pushed him over the line.
Yeah.
And I think this is when I first considered the Shutter Island
connection
or possibility.
It's one of my favourite films. I really like Shutter Island.
Yeah, it's very good. Very good cast as well. I was looking at it the other night there because of this. Jam-packed with top-notch stars.
Mark Ruffalo's really good in it.
He's very good in it, yeah.
He's also good in the one about the Zodiac. Zodiac, it's called.
Yes, although don't get me started on that. The great movie.
Yeah.
But the Graysmith is a complete bullshit artist. Half the stuff he's made up.
The other guy whose book it's based on,
Yes.
who is he not played in by Jake Gyllenhaal? or
Yes,
something?
but they're very, very controversial. Everything that people sort of, the society are culturally known about the Zodiac is taken from this book.
Right.
But he was a bit of a Walter Mitty, let's say that.
Okay.
Anyway.
Moving on. I think there's a very short time skip, maybe a few seconds.
Yeah, we fade back in, and Sam has now fully immersed himself as Samantha and talks about Gloria as she asks for a cigarette whilst insisting that she doesn't deserve to be locked up for what she did to Buddy.
No. He then bums a cigarette off a member of staff, which is provided.
Yeah.
And at this point, Al makes an internal call for Dr. Beeks before explaining again to Sam his real name and starts talking to him about quantum leap. What do you think is going to happen here? Best case, he starts repeating it.
Yeah.
That's not going to help him either.
I suppose you could say, however, that Al is panicking. Al is he's not thinking
He's trying to jog memories.
Yes. I think he's on to describe his involvement in Project Quantum Leap, which causes the Doctor to realise that he's listening to someone else.
Al's maybe thinking back to the first leap when he had to fill in the gaps in Sam's memory.
Yeah.
Because you remember that very first episode, he didn't know why he was in that body or what was going on.
Yeah. I mean, he's hoping here that he'll say a few things and Sam will go, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what's caused this at this point.
At this point, however, it turns out that Tibby can see Al.
Yes. Because when the Doctor asks who he's talking to, Tibby responds by saying it's the guy in the red jacket. He likes his red jacket. It's a nice jacket.
Yeah, it is a nice jacket. Al is quite alarmed, as we heard at the top of the show, to find out that he's visible to the mentally absent, as he puts it. I'm not sure that the show treats the people with mental health issues that much better than the institution.
You don't think so, no?
There's some, I mean, obviously it hints at the way the institution handles things is wrong, but it still calls them Looney Tunes at times like that. And,
of course, yeah.
And some of the language as well as...
It's off its time, which is now not acceptable.
Still not, it would be done different again. Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Now. Anyway, Al warns Tibby not to say anything about him or he'll be punished by the staff there, so he zips it and Dr. Masters comes to a medical conclusion about Sam.
Yeah, apparently he has, based on watching him for, what, a couple of minutes?
If that.
He has a multiple personality disorder. Is that right?
Syndrome, I think.
Syndrome, okay.
At this point, Al tries to play into Sam's, I'm not sure delusion's the right word, but the way he is seeing himself, and addresses him as Samantha, asking him to just say that he's Sam Biederman and that he's very tired after his therapy.
Yeah, otherwise, he will never get out. So Sam does this, and the doctor agrees that they can talk later, but Al is worried about what he thinks and what's going to happen later on.
Yeah. At this point, Sam hands back the cigarette and asks Dr. Masters not to tell Gloria. And an older doctor shows up, and Masters quite rightly says that Sam was listening to the voices that were telling him to pretend to be Sam Biederman.
Yeah.
Very intuitive. I don't think Masters is really a bad guy in this. He's a bit...
Oh, well,
I mean,
no. It's up until the very end, I thought he's a good guy.
not a good guy, but he is at least... And I think
He's not cruel.
He's not evil, but he does believe in the medicine that he's doing, which is...
But that, again, if that's what you're taught, if that's what the current thinking
he didn't
is...
come up with this.
No. And he's not trying to use it as a means of torture or abuse.
Yeah.
But up until the last scene, I thought, yeah, he's a decent guy just doing his job. But my opinion changed.
Well, there's one earlier scene as well.
Is there?
When he gets a wee bit of confrontation with the nurse.
Okay.
We'll come to that fairly soon.
In any case, he asked for an observation room to be prepared. And
after he and the other members of staff leave, Sam sits up in his bed and asks Al what's happening next.
Yeah, he talks about getting out, but is told pointedly that the only way out is to stop him from getting his brain fried again. Or anymore.
Yeah. At this point, Al starts to get a bit emotional when Sam asks who he is.
Yeah, I mean, you can see Sam is very, he's very anxious, very nervous, as you would be. I think he pulls his blanket over his head when the thunder and lightning strikes. He's very timid.
Yeah.
And Al talks of their past, how Sam was the only one who believed in him and brought him onto the Quantum Leap project.
But also that Al had given Sam a break at some point prior to that.
And that he is a hologram from 43 years in the future. So this places it 1997. This is specific now. It's not 40 odd, it's not 45, it's 43 years.
Yeah. But the doctor miscalculates the number of years from now to 1961 later on, so it's still a little bit woolly.
Well, okay.
Anyhow, Sam asks Al how come nobody can see him, and he demonstrates by walking through the bed.
Yes, nice.
And he then asks who else can see him, but it turns out all the patients can see him.
Yeah, at this point, both Sam and the onlooking Tibby place their hands through Al, which results in him being reprimanded and thinking that he should check his meds.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder what the etiquette is there. If you see a guy who's a hologram, is it bad form to put your hand through him?
Yeah, it depends. If it was a woman, you wouldn't do it.
Wouldn't you? They're not really there.
Oh, well.
Anyway,
I don't know.
Tibby has questions. Sam falls asleep and Tibby has questions for Al about the future.
What are they?
He wants to know, is he in it? Which Al kind of fobs off that, of course you are, without actually checking. And he asks if it's really, really clean and if cars float on air. And Al says, no, it's filthy. And the cars still run on the ground, but they are trying.
Yeah, not hard enough.
No.
Because that's, so this is...
We know that Al's an environmentalist.
Yeah, 1991. They knew there was a problem. It's only got worse.
Yeah, but there's people who've put a lot of money into covering up the fact that there's a problem, or at least funding an alternative line of thought to... Yeah, let's move on. Al asks Tibby to keep an eye on Sam and tell him that he'll be back soon, but not to talk to anybody. And
he agrees to tell him about the future later on, and asks him to keep an eye on Sam as he departs to the delight of the excited young man. We then head to find that the observation room is being prepared, and Masters is relishing the prospect of being able to examine Sam and his condition as he discusses the possibilities with Nurse Chatham.
What if he's developed more than one personality?
Well, that's what I hope these tests will show you. Yesterday, Mr. Biederman was a manic depressive. And now he's created a whole new world for himself.
Samantha Stormer seems so real to him.
A distinct secondary personality with her own life, job, friends, problems. 8 years in the future.
Well, it doesn't follow any cases I've read about.
The Cook girl was the only multiple personality disorder I've actually interacted with. But hers was a result of childhood trauma. Sam. He's created a whole personality totally unrelated to anything he's ever experienced. And everything takes place in the future. I mean, this has never happened before. It's the aspect of time displacement that fascinates me. Perhaps we should perform some of these tests under sodium amytal.
Dr. Masters, Mr. Biederman is still a patient here in need of our help. And I'm a little worried that this type of research may overshadow our interest in him as a person.
If I become overzealous, I'm sure Dr. Wickless will let me know. Thank you.
So that's the part I was referring to about maybe a wee bit of a hint of Masters having a dark underside when he talks about using this sodium amytal and being overzealous.
Yeah. Back in the ward, Al returns to find Sam head down, bum up, with Tibby rocking back and forth beside him and asking if Al has any more information on the future.
And he does. He says that Sam had come here to help Tibby, and now Al's going to do it for him.
Tibby himself reveals that he used to get really bad headaches when he was younger that made him crazy, and his parents brought him there and never returned. Sad story.
Yeah, too many kids, not enough food, he says. But he's not mad at them. He still gets the headaches, but he doesn't tell anybody anymore because he doesn't like the idea of what might happen to him.
At this point, Al checks with Ziggy. What does he find?
Well, I'm not sure this is a thing, but he says that Tibby has mild Down syndrome.
Now, yeah, I'm no expert, but I think you either have it or you don't.
I would have to do a lot of reading to understand whether this is possible.
But in any case, he gets out in 7 years, however, ends up on the streets.
He's unable to read and write and he can't get a job. Al thinks that's why Sam is here. And at this point, they're interrupted by Freddy.
Yeah, he tells him to get his stuff. However, Sam doesn't take kindly to being referred to as Sam or Samantha.
No, he's changed his identity once again. He's now Jesse Tyler.
Yeah, he shouldn't be in this loony bin for merely sitting down to eat some lunch at the counter.
Freddy says it's not a loony bin, it's an institution for the mentally unstable. That sounds like my work.
So let's remind people, Jesse Tyler, who was he?
That's the Colour of Truth,
Yes.
the old man in the
Racism episode with Driving Miss Racist.
Yes.
Yeah.
So again here we see what I was saying earlier about Sam's subconscious filling in information because Jesse's personality is completely different from what we saw in that episode.
Mm-hmm. And again, noted here, nice performance by Sam. He's
good accent, yeah.
He does Scott Bakula, he does a good job in this episode having to play these different characters.
He does a very good job.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, even though we are very often annoyed at Sam, Scott Bakula's brilliant at being that annoying person.
If that's what he's trying to do, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That is a character, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, well, whatever your view of the character, that is what the character is, whether you think it's a positive or not, yeah.
The only thing that he brings out probably is his stupid run. That wasn't written.
Yeah. So Sam starts talking about how he had money when he went to this sandwich bar. He doesn't think colour should matter, which is not at all what Jesse thought. So it's interesting. It's kind of Sam's thinking, but in Jesse's person. Or not personality, but Jesse's mannerism.
Yeah, this was Sam who thought colour shouldn't matter. And back in those days, Jesse would have understood that colour, unfortunately, did matter.
Was a factor, yeah. So we're getting probably mostly Sam's thoughts, but presented through Jesse's, not eyes, but mannerisms, I think. Yeah.
Sure. The confused Freddy at this point leaves to get Masters as a frustrated Al begs him not to do this and instead to save Tibby so that they can both leave.
Yeah, Al starts fading as well and warns Sam that there's an 82% chance they could lose contact forever if he keeps switching personality. That's not really referred to again in the episode, and this fading gets put down to a loss of battery power the next time it happens.
Yeah, a little bit like Back to the Future, when he's changing history or not changing history.
So I think the thing is, the more things go this way for Sam, maybe if brainwaves are being affected and they don't have the capacity to keep the connection.
Yeah. In the observation room, Sam declines to play a game with Masters, claiming to be too old and also unable to read.
Yes, meanwhile we see Nurse Chatham and others watching on as she explains to them who this Jesse personality is. Yeah,
and apparently his motivations for being this character.
Meanwhile, Masters is doing an ink blot test with Sam/Jesse.
That's the Rorschach, is it? I think that's what they call
Is that
it.
right?
Yeah.
Sam doesn't see anything in the first one, but
It says burnt chitlins.
yes, on re-examination, that's what he goes for. The second one, however, gives him a flashback.
Yeah, to Nell, who was that? I can't remember. Was that his granddaughter or
Yeah, she was
niece?
going off the road. Remember?
Yeah, by the redneck racists.
Yes. And they went to the White Hospital. He tells this story more or less as it happened,
Yes.
and talks about knowing the medical procedure, which causes Masters to interrogate that point.
He's confused because Sam or Jesse said earlier that he couldn't read.
Yes, so as Sam, he knows that he knew the medical procedure, but being Jesse, he knows that he can't read, and it's causing a conflict in his own mind, which is concerning and upsetting to him.
And it's not helped by the fact that Al is also there telling him that he's got 7 degrees and he
Yeah, I
can
don't think
certainly
Al's
read.
helping at all here.
No, I mean, you would be very confused if you had all these things going on in your head at the same time. He gets up and argues with Al, which puzzles the observers, and Chatham tells them that Masters thinks it's a hallucination called Al.
An external personality, which has been consistent through the different personalities that he's shown in himself.
One of the observers asks the other senior doctor, I think it's Wicks or Wickles, something like that,
Yeah.
if it could
older
be
guy.
if it could be a symptom of his multiple personality disorder, but he doesn't agree.
No.
He thinks it would be more likely to be associated with schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Al is concerned.
Always.
He understands this behaviour doesn't look good at all, and tells Sam, urges him to sit down, not to look at him again, even if he has to talk to him.
Yeah, I think Al's trying to maintain the status quo until they can come up with a solution at his end.
But they end up having another 3-way conversation, after which Sam follows Al's instructions and declares that he's going to sit down and finish the test so that he can get the hell out of there.
Yes, he asks for some water, and that's organised while he looks at the next card, which he gives a Sam answer to.
It's like, I like this.
He says it looks like the subatomic structure of a quark, before immediately rejecting that idea because he doesn't know what a quark is. And neither does Masters.
It doesn't, but Al defines it and informs Sam that he also has a degree in quantum physics.
Yes, but he doesn't repeat this definition, which would have led Masters to being quite confused when it was eventually discovered.
Yeah, exactly. This seems to distress Sam more as he holds his head in his hands, but not as much as when Butch enters with the water.
Yeah, no, Sam identifies him as a VC. So obviously he's changed personality again to his character from the Vietnam episode.
He has these flashbacks and he backs himself into the corner.
I think it's the Leap Home Part 2. That was the episode.
Butch is ordered out as Masters asks the distraught and now flapping Sam who he is. And on Al's advice, he gives his serial number.
Yes.
Not sure why that would be good advice.
Because if he believes he's that person, that's the only information he'll agree to give.
Right.
But I don't know why it helps.
Yeah, he's on to state where he is and what year it is as well.
I think it's just to calm him down. So if you get him to do something that is structured, it maybe stops him panicking.
So wait a second. So Sam can... So what we said before is he didn't really know who these people were. He's trying to put it together, but he can remember a serial
It
number.
might not be right.
Okay. We double check that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think the serial number's mentioned in the actual episode.
I don't know, okay.
I've looked into this. But yeah, so it gives Sam a chance to stop panicking, which allows them to then intervene.
He whimpers in the corner and says that he needs sleep, which they agree to, and is led off. But this behaviour clearly is now really disturbed Al, who we see watching him go.
Yeah, but he's obviously on a dual track, and a bit later at night, he returns and tries to complete Sam's mission for him.
Yeah, he's a bit more positive now.
Unlike this scene, which is terrible.
He tells him what they need to do in order to leap.
Yes, he has to teach Tibby to read, which Tibby says he can't do. All he can learn is music, which gives Al an idea. And since we had to listen to it...
Now, if I could just access this and maybe even get it to play through the handling, that would be pretty good, huh? Got it.
That's Boogie Woogie.
No, this is rap. I gotta make up words. Let's see. You're a Looney Tune in a big white room, and I'm a hologram from the future. Now I'm moving fast back into the past, and I got to say I'm pleased to meet you. You're my man, I'm a fan. You got to understand that you got the power. The right read says guaranteed. I'm gonna give you what you need. Say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, Well, you're my man. I'm afraid you got to understand. You got the power. The right read says guaranteed. I'm going to give you what you need. H-I-G-K-L-M-N-O-P.
What the hell is going on here? What are you guys doing? You think this is a party? Oh, you think it's funny, Mr. Johnson? Hey, you keep have to clean this place up right now!
It's rap music. Sam, that's right. You remember. You used to hate rap music.
Name's Stratton, little buddy. Captain Tom Stratton. This is a loud hospital. Dialer in here?
Oh, no, not again.
What happened to the X2? Did I do it?
Sam, it doesn't matter what you did. I just saved Tibby. He's going to learn how to read, and he's going to get a good job when he gets out.
You feeling all right?
And Tibby's going to be okay. So, ready to eat.
Look, all I want to know is, did I break Mach 3?
Okay, where do we start with that?
Of course, Tom Stratton would know about rap music.
That's my
But
point
again,
here.
so Sam does, but so it's the crossover of the two things in his brain.
Yeah. Now, I know that this was written by Deborah Pratt, but I don't care. No one, this is garbage 80s crap rap.
It's the kind of rap you might get on Sesame Street.
Yes. It reminded me, it's not as good as, I think I've probably mentioned this before, but you can get it on YouTube. Search for Maniac Cop Rap. That's good.
Okay.
Where the rhyme jacuzzi with Uzi.
That's good. Or the Anfield rap.
Oh, that's bad, yeah.
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 That's worth listening to.
Uh-huh.
Apparently, they needed 8 takes for that because Dean Stockwell kept getting the alphabet wrong
Right.
when they were doing it.
Of all the things.
Well, yeah, he's learned all the other words.
Yeah.
So it
The
helps him.
rapping was fine.
Yeah.
It's just the alphabet.
That's the problem.
Uh,
We get a bit of a time jump and we see Sam dreaming about being himself in Elk Ridge when he left home.
and also, the time he was a pro boxer,
Yes, what was he? Kid
Cody,
Cody. What episode was that one?
right hand of God,
There you go.
as Al's muddied voice breaks through, telling him that he's only dreaming. How did that?
Why is he waking him up? How
Dunno.
does he know he's dreaming?
Yeah.
Maybe he's saying something.
He wakes with a start as his friend informs him that he is on 10 minutes of emergency power. That's Al.
Yeah, that's why he has to wake him. He's got Beaks with him, but Sam can't see her.
No, Beaks apparently has got a theory as to what might induce the leap. I don't understand the point of this scene and Beaks
Why
being
do they
there.
have to bring her?
She doesn't do anything.
Yeah, Al can just say, oh yeah, Beaks has a theory.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Al explains to Sam about leaping, how he's been all these people and then leaped when he helped them, and agrees with Sam that he is a good guy.
Yes, and is now Sam Biederman.
Yes, I should say we can see Beaks when Al holds her hand, but we can't hear her.
No.
They start flickering again as the power cuts out, and Al explains that they have to let her go to save power. So what was the point? Bring her in.
There's no point at all. She didn't add anything. So here's the thing, right? So he explains about all these different leaps and how he fulfills an objective and then he moves on.
Yeah.
But because of the electric shock treatment he received,
He's not leaping, even though the objective has been achieved.
yeah.
Her plan to save him is absurd.
What was that again?
A second electric shock will reverse the first one.
This is just the cartoon with
I've literally said it's what happens in a cartoon. You get a second knock on the head,
yeah.
and it cures your amnesia. It was a trope as far back, I think, as the late 18th century. I looked into this as well.
Right. Okay.
In fiction, there's no basis in truth. It's got no medical basis. I read a medical journal where someone had written this up.
Yeah.
There's no medical basis for thinking this could happen.
The entire ending actually was probably the weakest part of this episode, I think, for a number of reasons. Also, it was quite good there. Sam was up shadowboxing with the ceiling fan. I like that.
Yes, because he thinks he's Kid
Cody.
Kid Cody. Anyhow, Sam says he's not going to do it. He won't take a second shock, but Al just yells at him for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, he shouted down like a dog here. You know, one that's been growling a bit, and you've got to show him who's boss.
Yep. I think Al's emotional as he wants his friend back, and he thinks this is going to work.
Well, not just that, but I think he's under that time constraint and that pressure as well. He is desperate.
So I think maybe the next day now,
Is it? Yeah, well...
or
yeah.
certainly a period of time later. I think this is, so this is during the night, and then in the morning, I
Yeah.
guess, Butch reminds Chatham, or warns Chatham not to tell Masters about what they did
Yeah,
to
there's
Biederman.
this undertone of threat.
Yeah, we're in it together. You were there. Sam, now in a dressing gown, goes into an observation room, and we work out having seen the episode, that he is Jimmy from the episode Jimmy.
Yeah. Should say as well, but what Chatham says to Butch is that, I mean, she's not easily bullied. I quite liked her character.
Yeah.
She says that if what Butch did to him is in any way responsible, she's going to tell Masters. But
Yeah.
how would she know? Like, if what?
Yeah, I don't know. If they don't know about it, how can they consider it?
Yeah.
We see this sort of group of doctors, almost like floating heads in a dark room, puzzling over why Sam has responded this way when he has no past trauma. The older guy who we talked about earlier on, who looks like a pound shop Dick Van Dyke,
Yes.
he suggests that there might be some hidden subconscious trauma,
Yeah.
or just something we don't know about.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I'm sure the medical records don't tell you everything. They only tell you
What's been reported.
Yeah. So yeah, we mentioned he's now Jimmy from Jimmy. And we have an unfortunate use of the R word by Chatham, but it's not in a cruel way. It's not meant to be. It's not an insulting.
Language of the time. We'll not use it.
No,
we don't need to. Masters comes in and gets a hug from Sam/Jimmy, who asks when lunch is going to be. A glitching Al also appears and demands, as we heard him tell Sam during the night, that Sam ask for another shock. Now, why would they think this is going to happen?
Yeah, this is what I said about the weakness of the end of this episode. There is absolutely no way that a mental patient requesting more of electric shock is going to be listened to in any way whatsoever. In fact, it's like the Catch-22.
Yeah, the last thing they're going to do.
Only someone who is mentally unwell is going to request.
Yeah. Sam is very reluctant anyway, but he tells Masters that Al will go back to the future and leave him if he doesn't get shocked. Masters doesn't think that's the case at all.
Little reference to Back to the Future there. I think it's intentional.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. The older doctor in the room of floating heads from Bohemian Rhapsody says that the two constants through all of these shocks, through all these personalities, have been remembering the last shock and this Al character.
Yeah. Al is forced at this point again to shout at Sam and order him to request this treatment, which causes him to freak out, and he starts pounding in Masters.
Yes, and is restrained then by a furious Butch. Masters, however, is also now angry with Sam, which is very unprofessional.
Yeah, he seems to, that's what I've noted, he goes against type here. He seems to have lost that after being attacked.
It's very easily provoked.
Yeah.
He demands that they have another shock session to teach him a lesson, which Chatham quite rightly says could kill him. But then she does say that about everything.
Yeah, Masters really, he lets himself down, doesn't he, in this scene. So in the treatment room, we cut to a very distressing scene of Sam strapped to the bed with Chatham still arguing and Al trying to do his best for his friend.
Don't leave. I won't, Sam. Don't leave. I won't, Sam.
Set the voltage signal.
Doctor, I really think after your session yesterday...
You can't perform as a professional. I don't need you in this therapy room. Do I make myself clear?
Sam, tell him you've got to same voltage as yesterday. Tell him.
We're almost there, Doctor.
Tell him!
Everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine, I promise.
Gushy, turn the power up on Ziggy. Turn it up to the max. You've got to keep me here. Come on, Sam. Tell him, bud. I can't hang much longer. Same shotgun as yesterday.
No.
Same shotgun as yesterday. No. Yes. It's got to be the same as yesterday. The same as Butcher put yesterday.
What was the doctor Dr. Whitler said yesterday?
It wasn't Dr. Wickless, it was Butch. Yes.
You administered electroshock without a doctor present?
I remember.
What was the voltage set?
It was set at 200.
Now, now, give shotgun now.
He got angry because Sam hit him, and so he punished him by turning up the voltage.
There's a lie!
You have the audacity to take that kind of control.
Do it.
I told you to press this. You told me to press. Sam. Not without me.
200. No, that's too high.
Time all gone.
I'm a doctor, not a registered nurse.
Oh, God.
Violent. I don't care. Not without medical procedure. You have the audacity to take that kind of control. Why would she lie? What?
lightning strikes the machine as Sam leaps, and both he and Al are kind of shown in this sort of leaping animation.
Yeah. Now, I think that Chatham will end up, and probably should end up, sacked and maybe even in prison.
Well, I've got that question for the end of the episode.
Oh, have you? Okay, all right.
Come back to it after we quickly cover where they leap to. It's they leap into By Dawn's Early Light from Columbo.
Yes, they do. That's what I thought. Yeah, we find Sam still in his...
Yes, this is interesting.
His
The same
hospital
clothes that he
gown.
was wearing. But Al is wearing a military uniform, and he doesn't understand why.
Beside a big gun.
Yes, and he also doesn't understand why he can't walk through the gun.
Yes, he is happy, however, to find that Sam knows who he is and seems to be...
They don't do a lot of tests on that, but yeah, he seems to to know who he is and who Al is.
Yeah, what happens? Yeah, Al bumps into the gun.
Yeah, and Sam walks through it.
Oof.
That's the big end of season cliffhanger.
We get a duel, oh boy.
We do, and that's the end. So, yeah, my question was, why would Chatham do that?
She has to be, at the very least, sacked.
She was the one that thought he shouldn't be getting shot.
You've got someone who is mentally unwell begging to be tortured. You don't do that. You look after him.
And the doctor's right there. Just wait till he's finished his conversation.
Yeah.
Even though he sounds desperate to be shot.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
I thought it was mad. So what's happening to her is one question. But also, what's going to happen to Biederman? His situation's been made a lot worse. When he leapt out, he was just a depressive guy who was about to get attacked by the orderly.
Now he's got all sorts of conditions and
personalities
problems.
and stuff. And you'll be like,
Don't
no,
talk.
I'm Sam Biederman.
They'll be giving him all sorts of drugs too.
They'll be like, who's Al? What? No, I don't know anyone called Al.
Unless this does work. He goes back and they think that this treatment has worked.
Well, they think he's had the shock and everything's fine.
Yeah. And he just said, I don't know what you're talking about.
What about all other patients now that have multiple personalities and they get shocked?
Dear me.
It's not an ideal situation for Sam to have left.
No, he's put them all in it.
So here's the other question. So if we assume now that Al has taken the place as the Leaper and Sam is the hologram,
okay,
how does Sam recognise Al? Because he says Al straight away when we know that Al sees Sam as the person he's leaped into. So surely Sam must be seeing the person that Al's leaped into.
Unless he's leapt into himself.
Well, that's the thing. So yeah, I guess it's a cliffhanger for the next episode.
Well, it's good as well.
Yeah, it's a shame that we're not doing it.
For a few months.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on the episode before we get into trivia?
No, just as I said at the start, I think it was a fitting end of season episode.
It's really good.
It was really good, yeah. I mean, there was a genuine stake in this episode. You felt
yeah. The only problem was that the wrap up was weak.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you can forgive that given the strength of the rest of the episode.
Everything seems sort of believable.
Yeah, and a stellar performance from Scott Bakula.
Oh, you have to say, yeah.
Okay, originally aired 22nd of May 1991, directed by Joe Napolitano, the 7th of his 12. If you want to hear more about him, go back to the podcast for Pool Hall Blues. Written, as you said, by Deborah Pratt. You can hear more about her back on the podcast for The Colour of Truth. Dr. Masters, played by David Proval. His only quantum leap. He's also been in things like Shawshank Redemption, Knight Rider, Miss Congeniality 2, and famously in The Sopranos. He actually was shortlisted for Tony, but he played a different role in the end. He's now 81, he's still acting. Nurse Chatham was played by Lee Garlington. This is her only quantum leap, but she's also in a lot of things. Cobra, Psycho 2, The Sum of All Fears, Friends, The West Wing, The Golden Girls. Interestingly, she was originally in the cast of Seinfeld when they did the pilot, but her character was cut for Elaine, Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character, before they went to production.
That's got to hurt, isn't it?
Yeah. I think I read somewhere she said she's still friends with one of the guys who was in it, and they just don't bring it up.
Yeah, George Costanza, yeah.
She has a website at leegarlingtontheactress.com where you can get coaching on your career or just for an audition. She's now 70, she's still active. Butch was played by Bruce A. Young. He's also in things like Basic Instinct, Risky Business, The Sentinel, Hot Shots. He's now 67, but he hasn't had a screen credit since 2010.
At a quick glance, is that the chap that he's done lots of Star Wars stuff? I think he's done a mass amount of Star Wars voiceovers.
That's a different guy.
Is it? It's not him?
No.
Who is it?
It's the next guy.
All right.
It's Tibby, Scott Lawrence.
Right.
So he was... This is his only quantum leap. He's been in Star Trek Into Darkness, Fear the Walking Dead, Avatar, and he's been the voice of Darth Vader on numerous Star Wars video games, but he hasn't appeared as him on screen.
Right. Yeah, I knew there was someone in the episode that was...
He's 59, still active. Freddy was played by Nick Brooks. He didn't have a big screen career. This was his only quantum leap. He's only in a few other things. But he was in Saved by the Bell. He was in Saving Private Ryan. Big on the whole saving thing. Dr. Wycliffe, the older Doctor that you mentioned, was played by Robert Simmons. This was his only quantum leap. He was also in things like The Exorcist, Catch Me If You Can, Primary Colours, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. He died in 2007 when he was 80. Dr. Beeks briefly played the first of her 2 quantum leaps by Candy Ann Brown. She'll be coming back in the same role in the future. She's also been in things like 6 Feet Under, Lizzie McGuire, CSI Miami, and ironically, given her silent role here, has done a lot of voice work. She's now 64. Her last screen credit was in 2015. And finally, Mortimer, who I think must be a patient, was played by Frank Collison. I only mention him for one reason, we'll get to in a moment. This was his only quantum leap. He's also in Twin Peaks, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Star Trek The Next Generation, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and interestingly, the American version of Fawlty Towers.
The Major, or...?
He was in Fawlty Towers, Oxnard, as it was called. He played Mr. Carnegie.
Ah, right.
So he's now 73. He's still active.
Very good.
Trivia, this is the first sighting of the dangerously experimental Dr. Beeks, although he has been mentioned previously. The series costume designer, you remember him a couple of weeks ago, there's a character named after him. He's Jean-Pierre Dorléac. He played this patient at the start that says the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker.
Nice.
Dean Stockwell, as I said, needed 8 takes to get the alphabet right for the rap. Bakula and Stockwell nominated for both Golden Globes and Emmys in 1991 for their work on this series. The show was nominated this season, as we've mentioned, for Emmys in the following categories: sound editing for Black on White on Fire, outstanding drama series, costume design for Glitter Rock, art direction for The Boogeyman, and it won the Emmys for cinematography for The Leap Home Part 2 and for makeup for The Leap Home Part 1.
Very well deserved.
In terms of things that we learned, Al gave Sam a break at some point in the past, and Sam kept him around when the Quantum Leap project started, when nobody believes in him, and not even himself.
Indeed.
Anything else?
Nope.
On this date, the 9-power conference concluded with the UK, US, Germany, Belgium, Canada, France, Italy, the Netherlands and Luxembourg signing off on Germany's accession to NATO, and Al Sharpton was born.
Al Sharp, I couldn't believe when I saw that he's only 68.
He's been 68 for 20 years.
I think he's at it. I would have guessed 88. He's been around for so long and he just looks so old as well. He's younger than my dad. Also, on that same day, Stevie Ray Vaughan was born. He died in 1990 in a plane crash.
Alright. A couple of days later, interestingly on October the 5th, which is probably around where the episode ended, the General Conference of Weights and Measures defined the Kelvin as the primary unit of temperature.
Very good.
So all of us arguing over Celsius and Fahrenheit are wrong.
Scottish connection, yeah.
Yeah. Lord Kelvin.
Mm-hmm. Kelvin
and
Park.
The Kelvin River. Got any musical ones for us?
Yep, in the UK we had 3 Coins in the Fountain by Mr. Frank Sinatra, whilst in the US it was Hey There by Rosemary Clooney. That is George's aunt. And also in the same year she topped the charts with This Old House, which is in this country probably more famous for being a Shakin' Stevens number.
Yes, it is. Next time we're, as we said, on a short break. You can hear us on the Poker Face episodes of the Columbo podcast in about a month from now, and then we'll be back with season 4 of Quantum Leap in the fall/autumn.
Until then,
cheerio.
Bye bye.